Hello and welcome back to GoingPro, the series where I, Theo Neal, the owner of Rise Media, go through my personal journey as a content creator and try and teach you things that I know about being a full-time self-employed creator. On this episode, I am going to talk to you about kit. The kit that I use, the kit that I've used in the past, the reasons behind the purchases I make and investing and all those good things. I hope to offer some insight as to the reasons behind the purchases that I've made in the past, why I choose the kit that I use, and what you should do depending on the stage of the career that you're at. So when I started my photography journey, I was studying art at GCSE, and my teacher told me to get myself a camera or to use the ones that they had and to go out and shoot and then take those images back to paint from. And from that point, I just really fell in love with the process of going out and shooting. So I went online and I bought a Canon 750D with a Sigma 70-300 lens. Now, I didn't know at the time that it was a cropped sensor and it would have a magnification ratio of about 1.6, which meant that the only lens that I owned actually turned out to be more like a 112 to a 480. Which for those that don't know, isn't particularly practical. So for the following Christmas, I asked for a small 18-55 lens, which as you may know as a kit lens. This new lens offered me a much wider scope of images that I was able to take, so that wider field of view really helped open up my shooting. And that was the kit that I brought to uni to go and study photography as a degree. At uni, that's where I really discovered portraiture, which wasn't something I'd really done before, and that's when I bought my first 50mm prime. I went for the Canon USM 1.4, which was a great lens, £200 secondhand off eBay. It had a little bit of play within the focus ring, but other than that, it was sweet. Now, it's important to mention that at the time, as I mentioned before, I was shooting on a cropped sensor camera, but I knew that this wasn't going to be the case forever. I knew that I was going to upgrade to a full frame camera, which is why when I bought that 50mm, I went for the EF mount instead of the EFS mount, which most of my lenses prior to that were, which meant that when I did finally upgrade my body, I could still use that 50mm lens, whereas I couldn't use my EFS mount lenses. So come 2020, midway through my degree, I upgraded to a Canon 6D Mark II, which for anyone that is looking for a camera, it is absolutely outstanding. It has a fully articulating screen, it's a full frame camera. As DSLRs go, it is absolutely spot on. With this purchase, I also went for a 85mm 1.8 to, again, enhance my portraiture and have that slightly more condensed field of view in my photographs. And I also went for a 35mm 1.4 Sigma Art, which I still have to this day. I absolutely love this lens, and at the time I was doing quite a bit of architectural photography, and this was an absolute beauty for that. It's really small, really compact, really nice build quality, and as I say, still use it to this very day. So that's the kit that I had as I finished my degree and then developed into professional work. So now in the year 2022, whenever I started my professional work as a full-time job, my first paycheck, which allowed me to not only quit my job, but also invest in new kit, was absolutely pivotal. With that first paycheck, I was able to buy myself a gimbal, which as somebody that was starting video work at the time was massively important. I also invested in some lighting, which is something that I never owned, which I'm actually using right now to light the background of this video. And I also bought the Rode mics, which I'm speaking to you with now. I'm using the Rode Wireless Go 2. You've no doubt seen these on loads and loads of Instagram reels. They are so good, so versatile, and really quite cost effective. So this is the point where I really want to talk about investing in your kit. As I said, this was my first major paycheck as a self-employed content creator. And I used that money not to go out and party or to go out and buy a holiday or something, which I could have done. I used that money to invest back into the business because I recognize that that is exactly how you grow. The only way to evolve and grow your business is to reinvest back into that business. The kit that I was able to buy improved the quality of the output of the work that I was creating for people, which meant that I was able to sell with more confidence, I was able to shoot with higher confidence and create a better standard of work for my clients. which inevitably led to more clients and better referrals. And this is something that I think people don't recognize at the very beginning of their journey, is that you have to invest back into the business. Otherwise, it's not going to take care of you in the way that you want it to. And this message can be echoed whenever I bought this lens. This is the Canon EF 70-200. It is a 2001 build. This is almost as old as I am, and it's still holding strong. I bought that lens ahead of my first wedding because I knew that I wanted to shoot with two cameras, one with a wide angle and one with a zoom lens. And so in order to be able to afford that, I used the full deposit amount to be able to buy that lens. And again, this is where investing becomes so important, because if you are not using that money wisely, you're not then going to be able to deliver the quality and the service that you want to be able to deliver. And if you're not delivering that quality of service, then people aren't going to come back to you, and they're not going to refer you, and your business is not going to grow. It also must be said that I'm very fortunate that my girlfriend also shoots, and she also had the same camera that I had at the time, which was a 6D Mark II, which meant that I was able to borrow hers and bring it with me to this wedding so that I could shoot with two cameras. I could leave one down at one point and carry the other one with me, or even hold both at the same time. So this brings us up to just about last year. Last August, I invested in my first mirrorless camera, which was a major investment. So the camera that I'm talking to you through now is a Canon R6 Mark II. Now for me, this was the perfect blend of versatility and quality. It's a great way into the mirrorless Canon system. As you can tell, I shoot Canon, so it was always going to be a Canon for me, but this camera, after researching multiple cameras, was the absolute go-to for me. I'm massive on practicality, so with the R6 Mark II, I was looking at features such as what card did it take, what battery did it take, what capabilities did it have. I'm not going to chuck all the stats at you. If you want to look at the stats on this camera, you can easily go and find them on the internet. But what I will tell you, as somebody who shoots photo and video, having that dial which you can just flick in and out of, having your settings dialed in, being able to use the screen as a viewfinder, massively important. Having the fully articulated screen really massively helps with tight angles. I work in gyms a lot of the time, so there's often not a lot of space to work with. So being able to move the camera into the position I want to use it in can be massively beneficial. It's got a dual SD card slot, which is massively important for you shooting weddings and things that are, you know, one-time only things. So I shoot a lot of events. So if I'm shooting a seminar, which can only be recorded once, they're not going to sit down again and shoot it over another hour. You know, these are the things that are important to me in terms of the practical side of what I'm doing, which is why I went for this camera. I also looked at the Canon R5, but the R5 takes CF Express cards. So a massive question for me was, do I want to upgrade the cards that I'm using? And the answer was no, because if I upgrade the cards, then I have to upgrade the dongles. Everyone loves a dongle. And it would also mean that I would probably have to update the system that I'm editing on, because the files for the R5 are absolutely enormous. I'm still working predominantly on this, the MacBook Pro from 2018, which is getting on in years. It stood me in amazing stead up until this point, and it's still going really strong. But I know for a fact that if I upgraded to an R5 instead of the R6 Mark II and used those CF Express cards, I would not have had the processing power to be able to handle that, which would mean that yes, it would be great to upgrade the camera to a level that the R5 is at, but it just wasn't practical for where I was at that point in time. And to be honest, it still isn't. So these are also the things that you need to think about when you're upgrading your kit. Not just, do I need this level of equipment, but can I handle the level of information that it's giving me? So something else that I bought, which I feel adds a certain level of production quality to my work, is this little guy. This is the DJI Mini 2. It was relatively inexpensive, bought secondhand, and is absolutely incredible. It shoots 4K video footage controlled through the app in your phone, and for me just adds a certain level of production value to the videos that I'm putting out there. It doesn't come with me on every shoot that I do, but for those shoots that I do want it, it does add something really high quality. I went for the Mini 2 because, as I say, it shoots 4K, and for the price, about 375 quid for secondhand, it was absolutely unbeatable, which, you know, for those of you who shoot mostly for social media, being able to crop down from 4K is so important. If you just go for 1080p, you will suffer in quality whenever you come to edit that and crop that down. So again, this was a major consideration for me. As with the R6 that I'm talking to you through now, shooting at 4K massively helps with cropping and just not losing that quality whenever things go on social media. Which brings me nicely into understanding why you're buying the kit that you're buying. Where is your work going? What is your work for? Who's seeing that work? If it's going on billboards, prime lenses and super high megapixel counts. If it's going on social media, then you don't need that level of detail. You don't need prime lenses. You don't need to be able to shoot at crazy levels of detail. Again, looking at the R5, the megapixel count would be brilliant. It's about 40 megapixels. It's almost double what this camera has, but it's simply not needed. If, however, I was shooting on a billboard campaign, or if it was going to go on the side of a bus or something like that, then that's where you need that quality. But most of my work is going on social media at the moment, which means that I simply do not have the requirement for that level of detail. And again, the same goes for prime lenses and zoom lenses. In my camera bag, I usually have my 70-200, the 24-70, which I'm speaking to you through right now, and I'll either swap in my 35mm Sigma Art or my 85mm macro. That's because I know for a fact that the level of quality that a prime lens can give you is higher. It is. There is no doubt about it. If you remove the amount of glass in a lens, you will get a clearer picture. But that level of clarity is so minute when you look at it through a phone, when it's downgraded to the size that it's going to be either printed for a photo album or viewed on a screen. It's simply not going to be noticeable. And so appreciating that if I have a camera bag, if I have a shoot and I have to fly to it and I only have a certain amount of luggage allowance, I know for a fact that I can get away with just having 2 or 3 lenses, or even, as the case may be, sometimes I will fly just with this camera and this lens, so just have the 24-70, and that will do me. And that saves me so much time, so much hassle, so much weight, and so much space when I'm traveling and I'm tight for space. And these are all the major considerations that you need to think about whenever you are purchasing kit. If, on the other hand, you are a wedding photographer, you operate within a certain locality, and you know for a fact that you can bring a small suitcase and you can have all your prime lenses, and that's what you like to shoot with, then by all means go ahead. If you've got 2 shooters, 2 cameras each, you've got 4 cameras, you can have 4 different focal lengths on there, then by all means go for a prime. If you feel that you need that level of clarity and picture quality that those prime lenses are going to deliver, and you have the facilities to be able to manage that, then by all means go ahead. But for me personally, as somebody who shoots fitness content primarily, and is working within tight environments and things are happening very quickly, I know that I'm predominantly shooting with one camera, I'm flicking between photo and video, and I need to have the most versatile lens and camera setup that I can possibly have, and that's this. So just to finish off the kit that I use at the moment, as I said, I'm speaking to you through a R6 Mark II with a 24-70 LIS USM lens. Now this was a massive investment, but it was one of those things that I'd spoken to other professionals, it had come recommended, and it's something that I knew was going to offer the versatility and range that I needed in my work. And in the months that I've had this lens, it has proven itself to be the best lens in my kit bag. Not only does it have the picture quality better than any prime that I've ever owned, but it also has the versatility that I need. And finally, onto my second camera. So as I mentioned before, I was shooting with my girlfriend's 6D Mark II, which was the same as mine at the time, but then since upgrading mine, I've really noticed the difference in speed, autofocus quality, and picture quality, which is why I bought this, which is a Canon R7. Currently it has my 85mm macro sat on it, which as lenses go is absolutely brilliant. It was about 300 quid, again secondhand. For anyone that's looking for secondhand kit, I can really strongly recommend MPB. This video isn't sponsored in any way, but MPB is where I buy the absolute majority of my kit. So this is an f2 macro lens, which enables me to get really nice detail shots. And also on this R7, it really shoots at about 135, which combined with the R6 Mark II, which is a full frame, allows me to have wide and tight shots whilst flicking between the 2 cameras. The way that I would describe the R7 is like the R6 Mark II's little brother. It's a cropped sensor version, but essentially has all the same dials and all the same feel in a slightly more compact form. Again, I'm not going to share all the details with you. It's something that you can look up really handily yourself. This combination of cameras means that I have at my disposal two really high-powered cameras. They can both shoot 4K video, which means that if I'm shooting video on both, I can then easily cut them together. They both have really similar and incredibly impressive autofocus systems, which means that I know that I'm not suffering in terms of speed and quality in that area. Having the crop sensor as well as the full frame allows a wider range of focal lengths with the same lens choices. So for example, the other week I was in Spain, I was doing a shoot, and I had a luggage limit. I could only bring 3 lenses. So I brought the 24-70, I brought the 85mm macro, and I brought the 35mm prime. So this gave me the scope to shoot from 24mm to 85mm on the R6 Mark II, but then up to 136mm using the 85mm on the cropped sensor R7 with that 1.6 times magnification ratio. So whereas some people would see the cropped sensor being a disadvantage to that camera, I actually choose to see that as a positive of the camera because I already have the full frame camera. This is just the B camera, but as a B camera, it is absolutely first class. And again, these are important considerations to make before investing in your kit. And again, just having two very similar cameras means that not only do they take the same SD cards, the coloring is going to be similar, the setup's going to be similar, I can set the settings and they're going to be absolutely dead on, which means that if I swap between the two, you're really not going to notice a massive difference in quality. Whereas before, when I was shooting between the R6 Mark II and the 6D Mark II, there was a massive difference, not only in how the camera felt, how heavy it was, how loud it was, but also how fast the autofocus system worked, and then the image quality at the end of it. So just to wrap up with a few more additional bits of kit that I keep with me. If I'm shooting video and I'm shooting audio on the day, I will never leave the house without this Rode shotgun mic. I've had instances where I've had issues with the Rode Wireless Go 2, and having this backup form of audio recording has been absolutely vital. So when it comes to offering a level of professionalism to your clients, having that backup is massive. I also keep a flash with me if I know that I'm going to be in dark situations or at weddings, for example. It's currently holding my camera, but I also use a KNF concept tripod and a KNF variable ND filter. This ND filter has been an absolute game changer. As I say, I work predominantly in gyms, but I also do shoots out in Spain on a regular basis. So having this ND filter, which allows me to go from either dark patches of the gym to light patches of the gym without having to tweak my settings. I can simply twist the dial and not have to change any settings, is massively practical for me. And as I say, I'm big on practicality. And as I say, having the opportunity to go and shoot in Spain means that I'm working in bright conditions. So when I'm shooting video outside in Spain, having this 5-stop specific exposure massively helps in terms of keeping my settings dialed in, but also exposing properly. So two major elements that are helping lighting this video are the Amran 200XS, which is lighting me as a key light, and as you can see over my shoulder, the Aperture MC Pro, which is my pocket RGB, which I take absolutely everywhere. If I have to pack light, so sometimes when I'm going to Spain, for example, I will bring that light above any other because it is small, practical, and versatile. But I will do a full lighting video in the future. I always carry plenty of spare batteries. These are the batteries that come with the R6 Mark II, the 6D Mark II, and the R7. This for me was a major selling point for the R7 over the R8, for example, which uses a different type of battery. Being able to have the same type of battery, the same battery chargers, and being able to swap in and out the same types of batteries into the two different cameras is so important. But what I must stress above all else is not using third-party batteries. I used third-party batteries because they were cheaper, and in my 6D Mark II, they worked. But now that I've upgraded to a mirrorless system, they really do not work. They will tell you that they're at 3/4 full, and then they will die. They will let you down time after time, and they are simply not worth keeping. So I would highly recommend, at the very least, going for the Canon branded. These new Canon ones have this iridescent sticker with the Canon logo on it. as well. These are the ones which came with the R6 Mark II and the R7, and these have the best standing battery life out of all the batteries that I have. Second behind those are the standard Canon batteries which came with the 6D Mark II. But as I say, if you are shooting on a DSLR, by all means use third-party batteries. It's going to save you a lot of money and they still work really well. But given the nature of the mirrorless system, it uses so much power just to get through, you simply will not get away with third-party batteries, and especially not old ones. Just had my first experience of the R6 Mark II overheating. I'm in quite a small room with quite a powerful light next to me. No open windows, so it is quite warm in here. But that is the first time that's happened, so a bit of consumer information. Cut-off point is not that long in these situations. And then finally, the thing that holds everything all together, the camera bag. I currently use the low pro flip side BP400 AW3. This for me is so practical. I used to just use the Tahoe BP150. I still use it whenever I'm doing smaller things where I don't need as much kit or I'm not traveling, or primarily if I don't need my laptop. As I say, I work on the MacBook Pro 15-inch, which means that when I was traveling with my laptop, it would stick out the top of that old bag. However, with the flip side, it fits everything perfectly, and I will do a full rundown on this bag in due course. So just to recap today's video, this is not designed to be a sell video. This is not sponsored in any way by Canon or MPB or anything like that. It's simply just the kit that I use, the kit that I've used in the past, the reasons why I use the kit that I use, the reasons why I upgrade in the way that I do, and the importance of investing in your business and in your kit. So for me, practicality is a massive consideration whenever I'm looking at kit. I also like to think about where my work goes and what it's going to be used for and how my kit is going to benefit that purpose. And I am always looking to reinvest back into the business and upgrade my kit where necessary. So hopefully this video has provided some sort of insight as to what kit I use as a professional, the reasons behind the decisions that I make, and hopefully that information can help you when you're deciding what kit to buy and why to buy it at whatever stage of your career you're at. And again, there is no right or wrong when it comes to what kit you should have, but just try and bear in mind the things that I've spoken about in today's video. Hopefully that's been helpful, and I look forward to continuing this series. Take care.